We discussed the principle that in Kochas HaNefesh, and the oilers of Spheres in general, there's a principle of Milo Umato, which we pointed out all kinds of different ways. And the most comprehensive manner it is Sechel and Midas. Sechel is Milo. The reason that Sechel is Milo is that it strives upwards. Sechel is drawn to that which is above itself. And there, it does not seek to grasp it like you grasp something on a worldly and tangible way. It seeks to connect to it, to be incorporated in this higher thing. Midas, on the other hand, this is Mato. Midas are in the world of Metzius, and Midas are actually based on Hergish Atzma, the sensing of one's own presence. It's a real Metzius that is a presence in the world. V'yuvon zeh ba'avedas havaya. This principle now we understood how this translates in Avedas Hashem. The difference between Sechel and Midas. Dikshem and Be'eze Inyan Eleki, that when one reflects, focuses on some Inyan Eleki, a godly principle, and he delves deeply, he puts his mind deeply into it. Let us understand for a moment what is the meaning Mamik Daitoi Boze. Mamik means he deepens his mind into it. Deepening the mind into it does not mean to find every nuance and to find everything that can be, every question, and find an answer to every question. Mamik Daita B'zeh means to deepen yourself into it and to relate to it and connect to it. In our Mashalim, this would mean the difference between standing outside and observing what's doing inside, and then you focus to every crack and crevice in what you see. You seem to be very deeply involved in it, but you're still on the outside. You're still on the outside. Ma'amik Daita B'zeh means that you actually step in, I called in. It's not on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I put it in. I called it in. Yes, it's disconnected. I'm going right back in. Means not simply detect every place where I can ask a question. Mamik means to settle in and get personally involved, the Sechel involved in this in the Inyan Eliki. When in order to be Mamik Daita Bazeh, all doubt, all questions must be put aside. He's not even seeking to understand it better. He's seeking to get a better sense of it, a better connection to it. As long as he's standing on the side and he's judging it, as you said, studying it, how does it work out, how is it possible, and so forth, he is not Mamik Daita Bazeh. It has nothing to do with Avodas Hashem. Mamik Daita means that he wants to connect to it and he forgets about all his personal questions. How do I connect to this? How did it strike my Sechel? So when one is Mamik Daita Bazeh, this is a principle in Avodas Hashem. If Avodas Hashem is going to go in a proper order, it has to come from Sechel, and then Mamik Daita Bazeh. So then AYIN and Ho'eliki mei b'meichi. The Inyan Eliki mei b'meichi shines in his mind. We already had ample chances to discuss the principle of Oir, which means the actual presence of the Lakus. Means that the Lakus is a reality. This is in the Meicha, in his Meicha. And that which remains on the midas level, Hu Rak, is only Mashekirvas Elikim Loi Toiv. The principle that Kirvas Elikim, that closeness to godliness, is Loi Toiv, is good for him. This is the midas aspect of this whole involvement. It's a good thing to be close to Elokus. Loi Toiv, good for him. It's not a good, it's good for him. V'chol ha'oyer shemeya b'moichei. And the entire oyer, the entire reality that is recognized and is effective in his mind, mis'aleim b'yiseirus hamidah. Misala means it's concealed. It gets lost. B'yiseirus hamidah, at the point when the midah is missing, when the midah comes to a factual and an active state. And we could see, this is exactly what is going to be discussed. I just want to introduce. He said midah. Midah means that this is a personal, a subjective relationship. Oir, that is as mei b'meichei, this is oir which is beyond his personal involvement, his personal interest. Just to know the truth as it is unto itself. These two do not function simultaneously. Beiseiros Amidas, when the midah comes to full expression, then the oyed the oyed of the Sechel is misalim. It retracts into itself. And the reason that it retracts into itself, we'll see more specifically, but in general, is that, as we explained before, at midah means measurement. Measurement means that this is something which can be identified very specifically. Moyach, the oil that's in moyach, is beyond specific, beyond that kind of grasp. Therefore, when one focuses in on that which is in a midah, which is in a measured level, then that which is beyond measurement is completely concealed.
It sounds like they do not coexist. The one overrules the other. It's tov law. He senses it's good for him, and now that's
it says that's not what it means.
Uh-huh.
They do coexist, but they don't function simultaneously.
Okay.
Midas recognize that this which I'm drawn to, this which loitoi, which is good for me, is a truth. Is a truth. If he were doubting that it is a truth, then he wouldn't go for it. In other words, I'm glad you asked the question. If one follows his midas because he feels good about it, that's not avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem means he follows it even at the midas level because it's elokus, because it's the truth.
This tov lo tov is this element of, it's a truth element in the midas.
Okay. But the meaning, the principle that makes him follow is because about the moyach, the oil lekid that brought forth in amongst the moyach. He follows it because that's the right thing to follow. But then he's brought down to his own personal level.
And the light is hidden.
And the light, the active light, it's hidden, not the light that's not eliminated, but it's not actively he's not actively involved in it. Like we gave yesterday example. We said that when one observes Shomayim and Oretz, Shomayim is on the mochin level, Oretz is on the midas level. And thus, anything that's perceived on the Oretz level is immediately put into some kind of a graph. How big is this? How far is it? And so forth. Everything has a specific identification. That's the way it is in the Oretz. And this is how it is identified in midas. Then there is a Shomayim. Shomayim which is perceived by the moyach, and physically even looking up at the sky, there is no demarcation lines, there are no components. We don't think in terms of how big is this expanse that I'm observing. It's completely beyond that whole phenomenon.
Yeah.
But we always said that the recognition, the observation of the Shemayim is very effective, very pertinent for a person to be able to function on the earth. This is what gives the spirit of functioning on the earth. Although on the earth you have to function in earthly measurements. But if you were to function on the earth without the consciousness of the Shemayim, it would be virtually impossible. I spoke many times about that. Not for a human being. You can crawl on all fours, yes, maybe. But to stand up erect without the consciousness of Shemayim is not possible. Because there is the mochin that has to be present, not necessarily shining. You cannot look at the sky while you're walking, but you have to be aware of it. Okay.
And yesterday that corresponded to Ratzon and Sechel. Today, same thing. What's corresponding to
it's
Sechel
Sechel.
and
It's
midah?
Sechel. It's Sechel, but the way Sechel justifies what it sees, it's not on the basis of what it sees. There's no selection. It is because there's a higher koyach, an otzim that creates it, that gives it being. The sky is not, what you observe is not the level of rotzin, it's the level of chokhmah. Okay, beyond the middle of the third line. When later it is known the big day, his midah, in order to enable his soilus, the arousal, which means the active state of midas. It's imperative. Thank you. Excuse me. That should be hisalmus hamechin, or hisalmus hamechin. That the mochin should be withdrawn. The kasher oir hamechin moyer begilui, because while the oir hamechin, again we translate in very simple terms, oir, the light of the mochin, meir, shines begilui in a functional and in direct manner. And I'll come back to put some insight into this. While this is true, it's impossible that there should be the arousal of midas. We have to. It's not easy because the terminology, and because we immediately translate it in our worldly format. As a matter of fact, we can hardly, in order to think of it in a true fashion of Oir HaMechin, we have to focus in on it. But the meaning of Oir HaMechin is the reality of that which Mechin perceives. I had the following demonstration of this in you. I think we have it. If I'm holding this up, so my question would be this. If a cat is looking at this and a human being is looking at this, would they be seeing the same thing or different? The cat would, if I'm holding this, the cat would see precisely what I'm holding up. The human being will see not what I'm holding up, but the fact that I'm holding it up. That's because the Sechel goes right to the point what it's about. Because I'm holding it means I'm showing it. What is it about? What am I trying to show? In other words, he sees the human aspect in this rather than the physical aspect. But in order to pursue this and become interested in this, he has to divert his attention from the fact that this is being shown to me by some person, but focusing on what I see, on the object itself. Do I want to buy it or I don't want to buy it? Not because it's being shown to me, but because of the value of the object itself. That is what's called misalmus oyer hameichin. Because being shown, that is oyer, that is a reality. Because this thing cannot stay up in the air on its own. The reality is that it's being held up. And the principle behind that reality is that it's being shown. There's an intent in the fact that it's being held up. That's oyer hameichin.
When it came down to this, do I want to buy it? That's
a midah element.
And why would, okay, and that became necessary, or that just follows?
Yes, once I identify this and it's good, I decide whether I want to acquire it or I don't want to acquire it. That's on a completely different level. If I acquire it, it's going to be in my hand. It's not going to be shown anymore. This is what oyer hameichin. Oyer hameichin means the reality that mochin identifies with. So when Meir HaMechin Meir Begili Yevshel Yeh Yiseres Amidas, the line begins with Yiseres Amidas. Kiyim only kasher misal Meir HaMechin, when the oir of Mochin. In this example that we have now presented, the object is being shown. What is the oir HaMechin in this? Oir HaMechin in this is that this is an object that is worthy attention. This is why it's being shown.
Oir HaMechin?
Oir HaMechin.
Isn't it everything worthy? If you're differentiating worthiness sounds like emotions already. It sounds like me.
No. Oir HaMechin, I'm showing you the reality, and showing is on a different level than what you see. The concept that it's worthy of being attended, of attention, is a mochin concept rather than a midas. Midas is not the worthy. Midas is, it's touching me. I'm interested. I want it. So when the oyer ha-mochin, the reality that mochin relates to, is withdrawn, is concealed. Oz Miseir HaMidah. This is when the midah comes to a foreground. And in our example, then you focus in on the object that's being shown rather than the fact that it's being shown, and the human element in this. However, okay, here's where we are going to have the bridge, identify the bridge between the mochin and the midas. As we said before, if the midas are completely devoid of a mochin oir, then it is an insignificant midah. There has to be the oir mochin involved in it. In other words, in the midah, while it is in full action, it has to be the sense that this is a truth, or this is a worthy thing to want. So we're saying that when the oir mochin is misalim, the midah is misaired. Means that midah is completely without mochin. No, that cannot be. However, the seirus hamidah hu mehabechein. The seirus of the midah, what really arouses the midah? Hu mehabechein, it is from what's called the bechein. In other words, the mochin itself can relate to midas and can say bechein. Therefore, since this is such a great thing, therefore it is worthy of pursuit. The hainu, which is the bechein in this whole thing, in mochin he recognizes the supremacy of Elokus. What is the bechein of this? The bechein of this is mashikirvas elikim loy toy. The bechein of this is that the bechein means that therefore, see what does this mean practically for yourself. It means that kirvas elikim loy toy, that kirvas elikim, closeness to God or godliness, is loy toy, is good for him. This is only the bechein. This is the midah of this whole of the mochin.
Rabbi, would it be a good thing to say instead of kirvas elikim loy toiv, kirvas elikim loy toiv, because it sounds like loy toiv, it sounds like not good, just how it sounds.
It's loy mitavov, not mitanal.
I'm saying those.
All right, stop it. Kirvas elikim loy toiv. So this is the bechein that comes from this mochin, oir hamochin. This is the midas element within the mochin. In other words, in mochin itself, as we already discussed, in mochin itself there is incorporated midas. The principle behind that is that if I observe and I understand and I sense a greatness of something, the complement of this observation is the fact that it ultimately can be brought down to a practical conclusion. To observe it from a distance, not to have an effect where I am, is only half the story. Because mochin draws a person that he should be connecting to that. And connecting means that it should affect him at every level, both in terms of comprehension and in terms of personal effect.
When you say to observe it not where I am, that's not what we're talking about, right?
I don't know where you're coming from.
When you said to observe it not where I am, to observe it not where I am, I mean that's where we're taking that away. We're not saying that, right?
No, we're saying that's where you need kirvas elikim loitoy.
Right.
That comes in the midas. Yeah. Yeah, so the Seres Amidas is from the mochin, but it is the result of the mochin. It's called the bechein. And as I said, we have to understand that inherent in the mochin is the bechein, that in fact this is a good thing to acquire, a good thing to connect. Not just the experience of having understood it, but what that means further down at the midas and a practical level.
This bechein sounds like the implication.
Right, okay, means therefore.
Right. So why would we think that the midah per se unto itself has inherently that application or implication? Isn't it unto itself?
No, the midah is unto itself, but its relationship to the Sechel is in the bechein that comes from the Sechel. The midah is a real thing.
Sorry, the Sechel is unto itself, right? So why would it necessarily have an implication? It's the truth unto itself. What's the inyan of the bechein? It's going to automatically influence midas. Why necessarily so?
Okay. That's what we discussed, I think, the other day, yesterday.
Yeah.
Something that exists only on the mochin level, on the comprehension level. It does not have implication to the very end. Is a theoretical knowledge.
Theoretical?
Yeah.
It's not real Sechel?
It's not real Sechel. You don't perceive it as a reality. You theorize about it. You project in your Sechel. But if you fully understand it, then it has to be. Then, let's understand the following. This is a cup. A cup is meant to serve water for drinking. Okay? Let me test it out.
Works well.
It works. Let us say this cup had no means to stand on the table. It would end up in a sharp point.
Mm-hmm.
So you put it down, it would just topple over.
Yeah.
Is that a cup in the full sense of the word? It still holds water.
Uh-huh. So here the nimshal would be that Sechel needs to touch the ground. But again, yesterday we had a clear differentiation between Sechel, which seems to go towards truth itself, versus midas, which are in the worldly context.
Absolutely.
But now we're saying Sechel covers the entire span.
Everything covers that.
Everything covers everything.
Everything. If it's real. Midas also want to say, is it true? Is it real what I'm going to?
Okay.
Question is, what is the focus?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if it's just a theoretical seichel, it's not seichel. This is it for this morning, I believe. I think we've come to some kind of a clarity. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.